Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I'm your host, Nick. You are listening to episode 51 of Talking Blue. Today, I have a good show for you guys. We are previewing the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays come into town, probably the hottest team in baseball. It's either them or the Brewers, so we're going to talk about that. Super good team. They are the best team in the American League right now. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the new videos. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Nick. I'll definitely be tweeting throughout these 3 games. It's going to be some good ones. As well as Reddit, competitive-week 8715. Yes, it's a weird name, but there's Talking Blue stuff all over. You can't miss it. It's all about the Dodgers. So you can get in on the conversation there. I'll be making a shorter video of this version of this pod. That'll be on TikTok and Reddit as well if you prefer, a little 2-minute video. Let's waste no time and let's talk about the Dodgers and let's talk about the Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays are probably, like I said, the hottest team in baseball. Since July 4th, which is the same time that the Dodgers have been struggling, the Blue Jays have the best record in baseball. And they have the most runs scored. The Dodgers' offense has been really bad in that time. So one of the hotter teams in the game, one of the colder teams coming in. So it's a good test for the Dodgers. This is the best team in the American League. They are one of the best offenses, and if not one, the best offense. Now, they do it a little bit differently than some of the other teams, like the Dodgers and the Yankees, who hit a lot of home runs and stuff like that. The Blue Jays aren't exactly like that. They're on a heater right now. At some point, they'll cool off a little, and I think that when the season ends and the Dodgers' offense has hit a little bit better, their offensive numbers will look a bit better. But the Blue Jays have been hot and pretty much are the best offense in the game right now. Not as good pitching. They have a solid bullpen with some guys who throw hard. Starting pitching isn't as good as their offense. I'll break down the Blue Jays really quick. The Blue Jays are currently the best team in the American League. Offensively, the Blue Jays are first in batting average and on base percentage. They are the best contact team in the game with the least amount of strikeouts and the lowest whiff percentage. They are second in doubles, but they are 14th in home runs. So, like I said, kind of what makes them interesting. They don't strike out and they put the ball in play. They are the best at that in baseball. Kind of like the Astros have been throughout their tenure, their run. They do have power. Like I said, they're second in doubles, so they do hit extra base hits, but they're only 14th in home runs, so they don't hit a ton of home runs. They do have some pop. So I was trying to look at some splits, if they're better or worse, however you want to look at it, against right-handed pitching, left-handed pitching. They have a 115 weighted runs created plus as a team against right-handed pitching. That's third in baseball. And then they have a 112 weighted runs created plus versus left-handed pitching, which is fourth in baseball. So either way you look at it, top 5 offense against right-handed and left-handed pitching, they're going to make it tough for your defense. On the pitching side, like I said, they are not as strong. On the pitching side, they have a team ERA of 4.22, which is 20th best out of all 30 teams. They have the third most strikeouts in baseball, but they have allowed the 4th most home runs. They have the 4th highest fly ball percentage and the 2nd lowest ground ball percentage. So they have a lot of pitchers who are fly ball pitchers and not ground ball pitchers. The Dodgers have a couple guys who get a lot of ground balls. And like I said, they give up home runs. So they do have a lot of strikeouts, which is interesting. I didn't think looking at their pitching staff they would have a ton of strikeouts. A lot of that comes from their bullpen, but some other guys in their rotation do get some strikeouts. But like I said, they do allow home runs. Max Scherzer, who's going to go on Friday, usually is a fly ball pitcher, so they seem to have a lot of guys like that. Defense, they're a pretty solid defensive team. They usually have a very good defensive outfielder with guys like Addison Barger is a pretty good outfielder who also plays third base. Ernie Clement, an infielder they have, he kind of plays all over the place, but he's a very good defender. They normally have Andres Jimenez. I think he's currently injured. He's one of the best defenders in baseball. Bo Bichette at shortstop's never been a good defender. Uh, Alejandro Kirk, their catchers, usually grades out pretty well as Vladdy. So solid defensive team, especially in the outfield. Their bullpen is all right. They have some power arms. So overall, a very good team. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs. Probably are going to win the American League East. We'll see if the Yankees can catch them. And in the American League is kind of weak the last couple of years, but right now they look like a really good team, and they've been really hot in the summer. So let's go into Game 1. Of course, Game 1, the two veterans, two former teammates, two future Hall of Famers, two of the three best pitchers in Major League Baseball since the early 2000s, probably. Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw. Those two and Justin Verlander are definitely the best pitchers of this past era. Once you get past those guys from the 90s, 2000s, everybody always references Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling, Greg Maddux gets kind of lumped in there, John Smoltz, they're a little bit older. Once you get past that generation and you get more into the last 20 years or so, those are the three best pitchers of that generation, and Kershaw and Scherzer will face off. Everyone has seen those videos that are going around when they replaced Greg Maddux and Randy Johnson as two young rookies, and now here we are pretty much a little less than 20 years later, and they're going to be the two veterans, so it's pretty cool stuff. Obviously, Scherzer pitched for the Dodgers in 2021 when he was traded over. They're still both doing it. We'll see if those guys retire soon. So let's get into that matchup. So the Dodgers facing Max Scherzer. We'll talk about Max Scherzer first. So Max Scherzer, very similar to Clayton Kershaw, has been injured a lot the last few years. Now he does have an ERA of 4.39, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. He actually has pitched pretty well for the Blue Jays this year. Like I said, 4.39 ERA, 41 innings pitched, 44 strikeouts, a 1.05 whip. One thing the Blue Jays do very well is they don't walk a lot of hitters. The three guys that the Dodgers are going to see in this series don't walk hitters. Scherzer is in the 94th percentile in walk percentage, 80th percentile in K percentage. Now, like I said, he's a fly ball pitcher who gets absolutely no ground balls, but he doesn't give up a lot of hard hit balls. Does give up barrels, like I said. He will give up fly balls, so when he gives up a hard hit ball, usually it's going to be in the air. That could lead to home runs. Like I said, he has an ERA of 4.39, but his expected ERA is 3.66. So for the most part, the ballpark he pitches in is kind of a hitter-friendly ballpark, and there's a lot of good teams in the AL East. He's been dinged up. He's still got a lot of good stuff. His average fastball still is 93.5, so it'll still get up to 94, 95, probably even 96. When you dive into his individual pitches, he has a very good four-seam fastball with a 190 batting average against. The slider isn't as good as it has been in the past. It's got a 268 batting average against. His changeup, 375 batting average against. That's the one pitch that's got hit hard. His curveball is 231, and then the cutter actually has a 0 batting average against. So Scherzer has been better against righties. He is a traditional. Righties hit him 221, lefties 238. Like I said, he's got a good four-seam fastball. Fly ball pitcher. So, like I said, the one thing the Blue Jays staff, one of their weaknesses is giving up home runs. Scherzer is definitely a part of that. So, I don't mind the matchup there. The Dodgers definitely hit home runs. Their offense has been struggling, so we would like to see them break out. I actually have some Dodger rankings against pitch types. I've talked about before how guys match up. I actually have rankings now, so I'm really excited for that. So the Dodgers this year in 2025 have been the second best team against four-seam fastballs. They have an 843 OPS against four-seam fastballs. That ranks second in all Major League Baseball. Against the cutter, they are 10th, 840 batting average. And against sliders, they are actually second best at 707. So they're very good against four-seam fastballs, cutters, and sliders. Not as well against curveballs, but they're still solid against changeups and splitters. Really the one pitch they kind of struggle with are sinkers and curveballs. So it's a decent matchup against Scherzer. The Dodgers like to hit the ball in the air. Scherzer gives up a lot of fly balls. The Dodgers hit a lot of home runs. He gives up some homers. So I like the matchup there. I think the Dodgers can hit him. In his career, the one Dodger who kind of owns Scherzer has been Michael Conforto. He has 4 home runs in his career against Max Scherzer. Freddie Freeman has 3. He doesn't necessarily own Max Scherzer. He's just seen him a lot. Their careers are kind of intertwined in when they will both broke into the league. Scherzer spent a lot of time in the NL East. So did Freddie Freeman. So he has 3 home. He's just kind of compiled 3 home runs against Scherzer, but hasn't necessarily crushed Scherzer. And then Miguel Rojas and Max Muncy both have 1. When it comes to home run predictions, you guys know, if you've watched, if you haven't, I like to make home run predictions. I pick 2 players for each game of the series on the Dodgers to homer off of that pitcher. I give all this info as to why. So I'm not just picking something in the dark. I'm not just picking something just to pick it. I'm giving you reasons why. The pitcher, the hitter, the pitches they throw, the pitches they hit well, why do they match up well, and I'm trying to predict a home run in that game off that pitcher. So I don't really take credit if someone goes deep in another game or if it's off a relief pitcher. I just like it to be off that pitcher. If it's in that same game, I'll take like half credit, but for the most part, I'm trying to predict these 2 guys to hit a home run off of Max Scherzer. I've been lucky in the past. When I first started doing this, I was pretty good at it, but 2 home run picks off of Max Scherzer will be Max Muncy and Will Smith. Like I said, lefties do hit better against Max Scherzer. Obviously, I have 1 righty, 1 lefty. Max Muncy, since he came off the IL, has looked really good. He is about one of the best fastball hitters in the game this year. Max Muncy, obviously he missed some time, but he hits .343 against fastballs. He also hits well against sinkers. And what I like is that Muncy's a very good changeup hitter as well. He hits .310 versus changeups. Now, the one pitch Muncy struggles against is sliders, 173. Scherzer will throw that pitch. But I like the fact that Muncy, who is better against righties, Scherzer is not as good against lefties. He as in Max Muncy, hammers fastballs and hits changeups well. Those are 2 pitches he's definitely going to see from Scherzer. Muncy, we know, hits the ball in the air a lot. I like the home run prediction there. When it comes to Will Smith, again, another guy who hits fastballs pretty well, is hitting .286 versus fastballs this year. But what Will Smith really does well is that he's good against a lot of breaking balls. So he's hitting .400 against sliders this year, and against changeups, he's hitting .423. So over .400 against sliders and changeups for Will Smith. And against curveballs, he hits .261. He doesn't really struggle against any pitches, really just splitters. And then against, like I said, 4-seam fastballs, he's not as elite. So one of the better breaking ball hitters in the game. I know it's right on right, but like I said, he hits .400 against sliders. He's definitely going to see a slider from Scherzer. I like the odds there that Will Smith gets a slider out over the plate, hits it out. So those are my 2 home run picks. Scherzer's going to want to come back into LA pitching well. There's going to be a lot of hype around it because it's Kershaw versus Scherzer, 2 of the 3 best pitchers of this generation. So it's all cool stuff. I think the Dodgers can hit Scherzer. Like I said, he's prone to give up some homers, so look to see some homers earlier in the game. Really what you would like to see is some base runners. It's going to be tough because Scherzer doesn't allow walks. We'll see if they can lay off that changeup, lay off the slider, maybe get some base runners. Somebody pops a homer. It could be 4-0 before you know it. So that's how the Dodgers match up against Scherzer. I'll talk about Clayton Kershaw, how he matches up against the Blue Jays. So when it comes to individual pitches that the Blue Jays hit well, obviously, like I said, they're one of the best offensive teams in the game. Now, they're not first in any of these pitches, but they're second in a lot of them. So against 4-seam fastball, the Blue Jays are 8th in a Major League Baseball. They hit .802 against 4-seam fastballs. That's OPS. Against sinkers, they are 7th. So they're not necessarily one of the elite teams against fastballs. And against cutters as well, 22nd in baseball. Now, against sliders, they are 6th in baseball in OPS. And then this is where they're good. Curveballs, changeups, and splitters, they are all 2nd. They're not really into any splits when it comes to the Blue Jays as a team facing lefties or righties. They have a very good lineup, like I said. Now, it looks like George Springer is injured. I don't know if he'll come off the IL. He has a concussion for this series. He's been very good for them. But I'll just quickly go over some of the Blue Jays hitters. Obviously, everyone knows their two best hitters pretty much are Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. But if you don't know, there are some other new guys on the team. So Addison Barger is a right fielder / third baseman for the Blue Jays. Left-handed hitter who has a lot of power. 17 home runs on the year. He does not walk a lot, so I would assume he is very aggressive. But if you look at a lot of the guys in their lineup, a lot of them are above league average. Their best hitter this year has pretty much been George Springer, who is on the IL. He has a 148 weighted runs created plus. Vladimir Guerrero is 146. Davis Schneider, who is kind of a platoon hitter who crushes lefties, he'll be in there against Kershaw and Snell. He has a weighted runs created plus of 136. Bo Bichette is back to his good ways. He has a weighted runs created plus of 126. Like I said, Addison Barger, 124. Dalton Varsho, who just came off the IL, he's only played in 28 games this year, 124. Alejandro Kirk, one of the better catchers in baseball. Another reason why the Blue Jays are a good contact team. He's hitting 305 this year, 117 weighted runs created plus. Another outfielder for them, Nathan Lukes, 117. And then after that, the Ernie Clement is just league average. So basically their whole lineup is going to have guys who are above league average, which is not rare, but that's what makes a good team is when you don't really have any holes. They all put the ball in play. And they have a very good mix of aggressive / patient hitters. Bo Bichette is very aggressive. Like I said, Addison Barger, Alejandro Kirk. But then guys like Vladimir Guerrero, George Springer, those guys will actually bring in their walks. Davis Schneider has a high walk percentage, as well as Nathan Lukes. So they're a good mixed offensive team. They don't have many holes. Like I said, the biggest thing is they put the ball in play. Now again, against Clayton Kershaw, they don't have a ton of familiarity because they're a pretty young team. Bo Bichette has 2 career home runs against Kershaw, which I believe came in the same game in 2019. Clayton Kershaw is very neutral. Two righties hit him 257, lefties hit him 254. Like I said, the Blue Jays aren't the best four-seam fastball hitting team in the game. They're still good at 8th overall. What's interesting is that they are one of the worst teams in baseball against cutters, but they're solid against sliders. Kershaw, the breaking ball he throws is a slider, but maybe if it looks more like a cutter, does he have success against the Blue Jays? I think that's interesting. The one thing that is scary is that the Blue Jays don't strike out, and Kershaw does not get a lot of strikeouts. So the ball's definitely going to be in play in this game. Can he get the Blue Jays to chase a little bit and have a lot of weak contact? Can we get lucky, have some balls hit hard right at guys? The Dodgers defense is going to have to show up. The ball's going to be in play. So if Kershaw can kind of keep the ball in the cold zones to some hitters, and the guys can, we see a lot of weak ground balls, pop-ups. Kershaw does keep the ball on the ground. It can be a pretty good outing for Kershaw. But the scary part is he doesn't get strikeouts or whiffs. And if the Blue Jays are just putting the ball in play, do the Dodgers get blooped to death? So we'll see. It'll be an interesting matchup. It'll be fun. Kershaw's going to be in the zone. Same thing with Max Scherzer. They're two different pitchers. Like I said, Scherzer is a lot of balls are in the air against him. That's not the case with Kershaw. Scherzer will get a little bit more strikeouts. Kershaw not as much. So we'll see. The Dodgers are going to have to bring their bats in this series for sure, because the Blue Jays are going to be putting the ball in play and having good at-bats. So that's all my info for Game 1. Let's go ahead and go to Game 2. So Game 2 will be Blake Snell versus Chris Bassett. 2 veteran pitchers, 2 guys who have been around for a little bit. Blake Snell has a lot of familiarity with the Blue Jays because he spent a lot of time in the American League East on the Tampa Bay Rays. And then Chris Bassett has faced the Dodgers a good amount. And when I dug into some numbers, everything favors the Dodgers in this game. Blake Snell has a career ERA against the Toronto Blue Jays of 2.55, and that's in 74 innings, so not a small sample size. He's dominated the Blue Jays in his career. Chris Bassett, over 5 career starts against the Dodgers, 6.31 ERA. So the Dodgers have hit him. The Dodgers have hit him hard. Snell has dominated the Blue Jays. I like that. So again, Chris Bassett against the Dodgers. Another veteran pitcher. Chris Bassett, actually, if you had no idea, is 36 years old. That's kind of funny. I didn't realize he was that old. Right-handed pitcher who throws a ton of pitches. He throws the kitchen sink at you. He goes 41% sinker, 18% cutter, 17% curveball, 8% four seam, 5% sweeper, 5% splitter. So he throws the 6 legit pitches. Now, Bassett is much better against right-handed batters. That's because he has a pretty good cutter, curveball, four-seamer. Those pitches are pretty good. He is not as good against lefties. Lefties hit him 283. The pitch that gets hit the hardest is his sinker, 308 batting average against. But like I said, the cutter is very good, 192. The curveball, 164. The four-seamer, 189. Sweeper, 226. And then his splitter, 520, but he doesn't throw that pitch too often. But Bassett does have an ERA of 4.12. Again, another guy who pounds the strike zone, 85th percentile in walk percentage. And he doesn't get hit hard, again, like Scherzer. He has good hard hit numbers, but his barrels aren't as good. But he does get ground balls, unlike Scherzer. So because he's a sinker ball guy, he will get ground balls. So the Dodgers should be able to put the ball in play against Bassett. He does not get a lot of strikeouts or whiffs, but very veteran, very cerebral pitcher who will be in the zone, mix up his pitches. We'll see how that looks against the Dodgers. They have had a lot of success against him. Ohtani has hit a home run off him before, so the Dodgers haven't been as good against sinkers as I thought. They are 14th in baseball against sinkers. They have some guys who struggle against that pitch, but again, there's a couple ways you could look at that. The Dodgers aren't as good against sinkers, but Bassett doesn't have a good sinker, so what will give in this start? And then a lot of his pitches that he throws that are good for him, the Dodgers do hit well, like four-seamers, they hit well, cutters, sliders, curveballs. So it's kind of interesting. The one pitch he throws that gets hit hard is the one pitch the Dodgers aren't that good against. And then all the other pitches that he has that are good are the pitches the Dodgers are good against. So what we'll give in this series, like I said, he's not as good against lefties, and he has a career ERA of 6.31 against the Dodgers. 2 home run picks in this game. I'm going to pick Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman as my 2 home run picks. Yes, nothing crazy there. 2 of the Dodgers' best hitters. Again, Shohei Ohtani, he hits 341 against sinkers. And a lot of the other pitches that Bassett throws, Shohei hits pretty well. Now, again, he has a good changeup, slash splitter. Shohei, one of the only pitches he doesn't hit well is splitters and changeups. He used to kind of struggle against curveballs, but Shohei's hitting 355 against curveballs, so he's kind of closed up that hole. So I think Bassett, he might try to go inside with a sinker. He's definitely going to pitch Shohei up and in and then try to get him to fish away with some breaking balls. If Shohei can lay off those breaking balls and kind of get a sinker that doesn't that is out over the plate, Bassett doesn't get in enough, Shohei can definitely hammer it, hit it out. And then when it comes to Freddie Freeman, Freddie hits 326 against sinkers as well. He will probably pitch Freddie and Shohei pretty similarly. So all the stuff I just said about Shohei also goes against Freddie. Now Freddie hits better against changeups, unlike Shohei, and splitters. But he is not good against curveball. So Bassett's definitely going to use that pitch against Freddie. So Freddie's going to need to look for the sinker and the four-seamer, try to hit that pitch. I think Freddie's looked really good as of late. He's been hot. I think he's going to put up some good at-bats against Bassett. I do like the Dodgers against Bassett. He's not very good against lefties, so a lot of the guys like Shohei, like Freddie, look to see Max Muncy's success. I think he's another really good matchup for him. For Bassett, Michael Conforto, maybe he'll have some success. So, and then Dalton Rushing will probably be in there in this game because Will Smith will catch game 1, I would assume. He's very cerebral. Like I said, he's going to mix it up. Sometimes the Dodgers don't do well against guys. Bassett's very similar to like a Yu Darvish, who's going to throw a ton of pitches. Sometimes that can work against you. You're trying to think too much, use so many pitches that eventually you leave one out over the plate. So, like I said, Dodgers are going to have to bring their bats to this series because the Blue Jays are going to do that for sure. Now, when it comes to Blake Snell, as I mentioned, he has a career ERA of 2.55 against the Blue Jays, and that is in 74 innings. So it's not a small sample size. That's a lot of innings pitched. 2.55 ERA. He's pitched very good against them in his career. Blake Snell. I was excited to talk about Blake Snell because he's only pitched 14 innings this year, so we haven't really done much talking about him, and we haven't done any preview stuff about him. So Blake Snell, he's pitched pretty good this year, especially his first start was really good. The one thing that Blake Snell is going to have to fix as he looks to build up and get better and stronger going into the September, late August, is his four-seam fastball, because his fastball has a batting average against of 423. It's gotten crushed so far this year, and the expected batting average is 368. So either way you look at it, it's getting hammered. But then all the other pitches, his curveball has a batting average against of 200. His changeup has actually been his best pitch. It's got a batting average against of 0 with a 50% whiff rate. And then his slider's also been very good, 200 batting average against, 60% whiff rate. Now the curveball has an expected batting average of 308. So he's been a little lucky so far. Those off-speed pitches look very good. It's just the four-seam fastball that he's got to figure out right now. I think he will, because he's always been a guy who has a very good fastball. Blake Snell has no issues if he has to, rely on those other pitches. I'm really interested to see how he pitches against the Blue Jays in this start. Like I said, the Blue Jays against four-seam fastballs, they're 8th overall in baseball. So they're not one of the elite teams, but they're still pretty solid. Now, they are very good against curveballs and changeups. Not as good with sliders, but curveballs and changeups, they are second best in baseball. The Blue Jays don't strike out at all. Blake Snell tends to be a strikeout guy. If he can pitch like he did in his first start in Tampa last week, I like the Dodgers' odds in this game, because he didn't walk anybody, got a lot of strikeouts. So it'll be interesting to see what gives in this start. Do the Blue Jays put a lot of balls in play, and Blake Snell doesn't get as many strikeouts, or does he still strike guys out, even though the Blue Jays don't really strike out a lot? So we'll see what happens there with Blake Snell. What I really like is that he has really good numbers against the Blue Jays in his career, and he looked really good in Tampa. So he's going to be coming in fresh, so he can probably watch a lot of Clayton Kershaw's first game, gather some info. Game will be on Sunday. Game 3 will be Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Eric Lauer. If you're a real Dodgers fan, you would know he's absolutely dominated the Dodgers in his career. He's pitched for the Padres and the Brewers. In 68 career innings against the Dodgers, has a 2.63 ERA. So just like Blake Snell, not a small sample size. He's pitched a lot of innings against the Dodgers, and he's pitched very well. He has an ERA on the year of 2.59 with an expected ERA of 3.01. So he's not had an unlucky year or anything like that. He's pitching good. Again, another guy who does not walk hitters. So all three pitchers the Dodgers are going to face are going to pound the strike zone. So you would guess that they'll be aggressive in the zone. Now, just like Scherzer, he's not a ground ball pitcher. More the ball is going to be in the air against him. So that, again, could lead to some homers, especially some of the guys in the Dodgers who hit lefties well. So we'll see about that. But he'll be in the zone. Doesn't have overpowering stuff, but his all of his individual pitches look really good this year. His four-seam fastball has a 195 batting average against. His cutter has a 161 batting average against. The curveball has a batting average against of 262. The slider, 186. And then his changeup is one of his only bad pitches at 353. So all of his pitches, he's got a pretty deep repertoire, and they've all been pretty good for him. Better against righties. So he's a little bit of a reverse splits guy, but righties hit 201, lefties hit 217. He's going to use the four-seamer a lot. It's been a good pitch for him, but like I said, Dodgers are the second best team in baseball against four-seam fastballs. I don't love this matchup just because it feels like Eric Lauer is just going to once again dominate the Dodgers, but we'll see. Something has to give at some point. Maybe the Dodgers can finally hit him. Him pitching good against the Dodgers is something that's gone on for a long time. He was good against them back in 2018, 2019. So, that was a while ago, so we'll see. So, like I said, he is a reverse splits guy, but I still like some of the right-handed hitters to have success against him. So my 2 home run picks in this game are going to be Teoscar Hernandez and Mookie Betts. Teoscar Hernandez, obviously we all know, crushes lefties. He's been looking a lot better at the plate as of late. He looked pretty good in that Cardinals series. He hits 329 versus fastballs, one of the better hitters in baseball against four-seam fastballs, much like Max Muncy. And then against changeups, he hits 386. So against a lot of those pitches that Lauer throws, Teoscar actually matches up pretty well. I'm sure Eric Lauer is going to try to get inside with his cutter against Teoscar. But again, Teoscar hits the ball well when he's pitched inside, not so much against balls pitched away from him. So he hits fastballs well. He hits lefties well. I think Lauer tries to get in with a fastball. Teoscar hits it out to left field. Mookie Betts, again, just like Teoscar, is a very good fastball hitter. He struggled against most other pitches this year, so I don't love that. The Mookie pick is more a vibes pick. He looked a lot better in the Cardinals series. I'm hoping that he breaks out in this series. We'll see. I've been saying that for a while. But again, just like Teoscar, I think he tries to get in on Mookie, something like that. Gets a fastball, maybe even a cutter out over the plate and pulls it out to left field. So they can definitely hit Lauer in this game for sure, because their reverse splits mean that guys like Shohei and Freddie should fare well against him. But then, of course, and Max Muncy, he should be in there as well. And then we'll also see Alex Call. He should be in there because he faces lefties and he hits them pretty well. They shouldn't have a lot of strikeouts against Lauer. The ball should be put in play. Alex Call doesn't strike out. Andy Pages, guys like that should be able to put the ball in play. Miguel Rojas will probably be in there as well. And then lastly, against Yamamoto. Yamamoto is a reverse splits guy. Because of his splitter, he's much better against lefties than he is righties. Now, he's good against both. Righties hit Yamamoto at 215 batting average. Lefties hit 182. But again, it's lower against lefties because of that splitter and because that pitch is so dominant. Blue Jays have been very good against changeups and splitters. They're second in baseball against both of those pitches. Of course, Yamamoto has a very good splitter. That's his best pitch. Now, they're not as good or as elite against four-seam fastballs. Yamamoto, although he doesn't get a ton of whiffs, has a very good four-seam fastball. One of the better pitchers in baseball as well. And he has a pretty good cutter that he does throw. And the Blue Jays, the one pitch they struggle against is cutters. So I like Yamamoto in this matchup. Yamamoto gets a ton of ground balls. So that could kind of feed right into what Yamamoto wants. The Blue Jays might get a swing over the top of some splitters, not necessarily lift the four-seam fastball in the air, get jammed on some cutters, and that's going to lead to some weak contact. So that'll be the key for guys like Kershaw and Yamamoto, is inducing weak contact. The Blue Jays are going to put the ball in play. You just need to make sure it's not hard contact, it's weak contact. Obviously, you don't want to keep getting blooped to death like some of the guys in the Cardinal series did, but keep the ball on the ground and keep those exit velocities down, and that should lead to, some ground ball outs, stuff like that, some pop-ups. And then we'll just see Blake Snell needs to bring his strikeout stuff to that second game. Maybe he can break the trend of the Blue Jays as of late, get some punch-outs, get some chase. So I like Yamamoto against the Blue Jays, and I do like Blake Snell. Kershaw is going to be difficult, but we will see. What we need at the end of the day is for the Dodgers to break out the bats, because I'm confident that the Blue Jays are going to be putting the ball in play. I don't think they're going to, tear the Dodgers pitchers apart in this series, but I do think they're going to be able to put the ball in play, and they're going to be able to create some offense. The Dodgers are going to need to stick with them. You let Scherzer punch you out in game one. If you let Bassett keep you off balance, if you let Eric Lauer do a little bit of both, it's not going to be a good series. The Dodgers need to break out the bats in this series. As always, the starters got to show up. The bullpen's got to be ready. So it's going to be a very fun series. One of the better teams. I'm pretty excited for this matchup. I'm pretty juiced up to see what happens. I would love to see the Dodgers win the series. Maybe even sweep. Who knows? But I would love to see them win the series. They will. Then after this weekend, they'll play the Angels, and then it'll be the Padres next week. My last podcast, I was wrong. I thought that they played the Padres Monday. They play them next Friday. They'll be playing two really good teams in the next week. So the Dodgers, the bats need to heat up. They did a lot of good things in that Cardinal series. And you're facing three pitchers who are not super dominant. They're going to be in the zone. The Dodgers should be able to hit the Blue Jays pitching staff. So that's all I have for you guys. Hope you enjoyed. I know I threw a lot of information at you. Blue Jays are a good team, but the Dodgers are a good team. It's time for the Dodgers to get hot. I think it can start in this series. You can get some momentum and some confidence if you can win the series against a good team. So, as always, thank you guys for listening. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications. You can follow us on all social media at Talking Blue Nick. You can follow myself at Talking Blue Pod. And you can follow us on Reddit at competitive-week 8715. Thank you guys again for listening. I will see you guys at the conclusion of this series, Dodgers Blue Jays.